Hello and welcome back to Right Noise, my guitar show to make you think about death and get sad and stuff. I'm your host, Vanilla Franco. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate your patience. It's been a long time since the last video. I wanted to do a follow-up video based around just distortion, but it wasn't really working out. It was pretty boring. Then I saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World for the first time in years, and I thought, not only is this a perfect movie, but there's no good tutorials on how to get the Sex Bob-Omb tone, so that's what we're doing today. And when you take two beautiful things like this and combine them, typically the results take 9 months to come to fruition. That was a weird analogy. Also, I don't intend on taking another 9-month break in between making content, but if I did, which I won't, but if I did, I would feel a lot more guilty about it if I had maybe 400 subscribers. I feel like that's possible. If we could do that, that'd be really great. Speaking of the last video, I can't thank you guys enough for all the love that you gave me on the Rickenbacker tone tutorial. I'll put a link to it in the description. It's the most popular thing I've ever made, and I really appreciate all the engagement. It's definitely a sign for me that I should keep making these high quality, low quality tutorials. And maybe in case Canada is some sort of good luck charm for me, we're gonna stay there, but we're moving from Edmonton to Toronto. I'm saying about Canada being some sort of good luck charm. Canadians just know what to do with guitars, man. Mac DeMarco, Sex Bob-Omb, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Andy Schaaf. Andy Schaaf wrote the greatest album of 2023. It's called Norm, and you need to listen to the whole thing in one sitting with the lyrics in front of you. He's genius. Anyway, Sex Bob-Omb.
We need to play now, loud.
Quick disclaimer right off the bat, this might disappoint a few people, but you cannot make a bass guitar on its own sound like this. What you need is a combination of bass guitar and electric guitar doing the same thing on the fretboard. Why doing the same thing on the fretboard? Well, in a lot of instances in music, to cover a lot of sonic ground, you'll have the bass guitar doing something different to a regular guitar or a keyboard or some other instrument. But we're not talking about people that are grounded in music theory and thinking about that kind of stuff every time they write a song. We're talking about one note here, one note there. It's this one note implying this huge chord melting your face off. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to loop the bass guitar here. I'm going to have the guitar doing a different thing to the bass guitar, but then doing the same thing, and you tell me which one you think sounds bigger. Interesting, yeah, no, I see what you're saying with the fretboard and then playing the same thing. Let's talk about this. The Rickenbacker bass, a titan of bass guitar iconography. This is the 4003 S model. Sue me, fight me. I like the pickup cover. It's shiny. I don't care about palm muting. I care about delicious basses that look like they taste like candy. This thing is awesome. And I like on Right Noise that I can change up the methodology and change up the instruments and show you how to get the same tones using different stuff. But this thing really is the star of the show for the Sex Bob-Omb tone. What you just heard there was the Rickenbacker going straight into a Fender Champion 100 mic'd with an SM58. Fender Champion 100 guitar amplifier, not bass amplifier. Why? Well, there's a very technical reason for that. I just felt like it. Pedal board's not actually active, all the gain is coming from the amp itself, but as you can see, the gain is not super whacked out, neither is the volume. Here's my EQ settings, and notice that there's plenty of treble in there. Now, I think it's important when you're making tutorials to not just say if you want the Sex Bob-Omb tone, you have to pay thousands for one of these. Even though it does have a very unique sound, I'm going to try it on a different bass guitar, see if I can get the same tone. It's definitely possible, it's just twiddling knobs. This is an Ibanez Sound Gear bass. It's the first bass I ever got. Let's try it out. Rickenbacker who? That certainly works as a cool rock and roll bass guitar tone straight out of the amp. Sounds great. Definitely works on Sex Bob-Omb stuff. That's not actually what I did to get the really, really accurate Scott Pilgrim tone, though. I will tell you what I did, but you have to promise not to be mad at me, okay? I took electric guitar and a bass guitar. I put it straight in the DI. And the DI was clipping. Don't be mad at me. But hold on there a minute, Vanilla Franco. If your DI signal's going to the reds, that means it's clipping. And if the signal's clipping, that means it's going to be too loud. It's Scott Pilgrim versus the world, not Scott Pilgrim listens to every studio engineer's dumb opinion about dumb stuff. We're clipping. Alright, so I'm going to get a bass guitar loop going with a bit of pre-crunch from the Boss Blues driver. Nothing too crazy. Then into the DI. I'm going to gradually turn up the DI input volume. I'm going to show you what happens. Alright, this is all ready to go. It's plugged in. It's recording. Let's hit the loop. Gradually turn everything up. Barely coming in. Let's turn this up. We're on the edge of clipping there. Sounds great. Nice and crunchy. Signal's getting pretty fat. Let's go even more. Back. Even there, it's still fully clipping, but it sounds great. It seems stupid simple, but I think in essence, the Sex Bob-Omb tone is a clipping bass guitar and a clipping electric guitar playing the same thing at the same time. Allow me to demonstrate. Some people are still going to be mad at me for saying that clipping was a good thing to do, but I think in that example, it shows that sometimes you do have to break the rules of traditional music production. That's a nice distortion tone. And what you just heard had no effects, no EQ, and no amp simulation. In fact, the guitar in that example didn't even have the pre-DI blues driver I was talking about for the bass. It was all in the input. You know what else? Nigel Godrich is Radiohead's producer, and Radiohead have a song called Body Snatchers, and there's this really thick, warm, nice distortion tone throughout the song, and it's achieved by Nigel plugging the guitar straight into the desk, turning everything up until it clicked. Now, Nigel Godrich was involved in the production of the Scott Pilgrim movie soundtrack, along with Brian LaBarton and Beck. So what I'm thinking is, you got these big music industry dudes in the room saying, how do we get these characters who are slackers and probably don't have a lot of money to get a cool distortion tone for their band? And I'm betting Nigel says, you know, you can just plug it into the desk and turn it up. It'd be the easiest, cheapest way. And it's genius because it is cheap and it's completely low effort. I can't see Scott Pilgrim and Stephen Stills going shopping for fancy amps and fancy pedals and fancy equipment. So it was perfect. So I reckon there really is something to this clipping the DI trick. So it's definitely a thing with me where I talk about like not really knowing what I'm doing when it comes to making music, and that's only a half truth really, because I do feel like I don't know what I'm doing, but I definitely have a bunch of tricks that I use to make a song from start to finish. One of them is this, and I don't think it gets talked about enough, and it's knowing that a song can sound great when it's done, but the individual tracks that make up that song are not always the most overproduced, nice sounding things in the world. So I'm going to show you some drums in a second, and then I'm going to show you some vocals, and individually you might not like the sound of them. Maybe you don't like the sound of my bass guitar tone so far, but when they're all playing the same song at the same time together, you just accept it as this raw, crazy, big, huge rock and roll song in your face, and all the things that you hate about the individual tracks seem to fade away. Let's do some drums. This is my new Yamaha kit. It's new because I was so embarrassed by how my drums looked in the previous video. And I hate recording drums, so I keep it simple. Kick, snare, overhead, compression. I'm going to keep it really simple in terms of playing. Here's what it looks like in the project. Just the kick, snare, overhead, the levels. There's loads of bleed happening everywhere, but guess what? Kim's not worried about that, so we're not going to worry about it. I've got a compressor on just so I can hear everything that's happening, and it's nice and loud for the monitoring. I'm going to show you how I process the drums afterward, then I'm going to add the instruments on top. Alright, back at the main desk. I'll show you how I'm processing the drums. Remember to turn off the monitoring compressor from earlier. You know what? In fact, delete it. Just get rid of it. You'll forget. Sorry to interrupt myself, but I just had a random thought. You know, in music, when you think, did I invent that, or is that a thing that already exists? I just said with such authority there. Remember to turn off your monitoring compressor. I can imagine people that are actually good at making music being like, yeah, thanks for the reminder, Vanilla Franco. I'll remember to turn off my monitoring compressor. I don't know, maybe the monitoring compressor is a thing. Comment down below, is the monitoring compressor a thing, or did I invent it? And if I invented it, am I a genius? Yes. What I like to do first on my drums is something called a static mix. And what that involves is just adjusting the volume fader so that everything's sitting at a nice level. We're not adding anything yet. Remember to check phase, that's very important. What that means is basically if these peaks and troughs don't align with each other, or they're disaligned by a full wave cycle, it means that the sounds of these two signals will cancel each other out, I think. Something like that, I don't know. All I know is if you don't get your phase right, everyone in the music biz will call you a huge loser and they will not come to your birthday. What I like to do at this stage is solo each track and do some EQ work. Now, I've spent a lot of time in this video apologizing and saying, oh, you're gonna hate me for this, you're gonna hate me for that. Let me tell you something about me making drums. I like to nuke the drums with a compressor. And that's what we're gonna do, okay? Because we're not mixing an orchestra. This is Sex Bob-Omb. I'm going to destroy the drum kit now. Let me tell you something. If it was up to me and there was no one else around, my drums would sound like this, and I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. We're doing Sex Bob-Omb, but we're going to dial it back a little bit. Now, I know I just said about not over crunching the drums, but this free plugin from Softube, Saturation Knob, just adds a little bit of extra crispiness on top. You'll notice it really kicks in when those big snare hits are coming in. I'm going to dial it up crazy, then I'm going to dial it back to something a bit more listenable. I got the drums where I want them. I'm going to add guitar and bass to this example. And I'm going to use the pedals they actually used in the movie. This was Steven's Boss fuzz pedal, and that's a Digitech Bad Monkey tube overdrive. The Bad Monkey is going to replace the blues driver in the bass chain, and I'm going to dial back some of the DI distortion to really let the fuzz come through. The fuzz is going to be the thing that pushes it into the clipping, and it should sound a little bit more hairy. Let's talk about the vocals real quick. I did the same thing with the vocals that I did with every other instrument track. I plugged it in and turned it up
until it started clipping.
So yeah, everything's clipping. It feels a bit unnatural to record that way, but what I find very, very interesting and definitely very clever on the part of the people that wrote Scott Pilgrim and the people that made the music for the movie is that clipping and everything being overdriven, overfuzzed and overcompressed, it's the hallmark of a band that doesn't know what they're doing. Obviously the Sex Bob-Omb songs sound great, but the joke is that the characters are dumb and they don't know how to record properly. Think about it. You plug your mic in, oh, the level's too hot, your guitar signal's clipping, this is too fuzzed out. That always seems to be the way. Also, the easiest way of getting any kind of effect is to just turn up the level. You get distortion, you get fuzz, you get overdrive. Alright, let's see what everything sounds like together. You know what's funny? I recently quit drinking, and I'm trying to cut down sugar as well, so I'm drinking Coke Zero. It gets very hot in here when I'm filming, so I normally have a drink off camera between shots, take a little sip. But it's just funny, I'm making this video, I quit drinking, I'm drinking Coke Zero, and I'm wearing this outfit. But, you know, like, we go legit on the show, you know? Hello from the future. At this point in real life, I've finished filming everything, and I've realized that there's plenty of ways of clipping a signal that I don't actually discuss in the rest of the video. So I'm going to use this stage where I'm doing the full band sound and replace some of the instrument tracks with some clipping experiments, if you will. I'm going to try clipping a mixing desk, a compressor, a preamp, an amp, and I'm going to mess around with some DAW stuff as well. If you can clip it, I'm going to rip it. Thank you. Okay, so guitar is plugged into the mixing desk. We got maximum volume on the fader, maximum compression, maximum gain, maximum output. And believe it or not, after all that, it's still not that fuzzy, so we're clipping a little bit in the DI as well. Really well. Right, now we're going to blow open this Dusty Joe Meek MQ3 preamp. Just in case too much of the high gain sound was coming from clipping the DI, that's why it might have sounded so similar to the just clipping straight in there. We're going to nuke it here and keep it green here. Alright, scratch that, I don't know what's happening. Output volume's maxed, input volume's maxed, input gain is maxed. Blowing up there, but nothing's happening here, so maybe something's wrong with the output. I don't know. Whatever happens, happens on this one. Yeah, I can't get this thing even close enough to being loud enough for the mix, so I'm just going to show you what it sounds like on its own. I feel like as a preamp, it should have no problem boosting the signal, so something's probably broken on my unit, but I'm still going to show you what it sounds like anyway, even if it's not the best example. After the MQ3 didn't really work, I didn't hold out a lot of hope for the Elasis micro limiter as a guitar distortion unit, but turns out it's actually okay. Try this PVC 6A by FMR Audio. It's a compressor and it's got a drive function on it, which is pretty interesting. I haven't seen that on a lot of compressors before. Even on its wackest settings, this one still keeps things pretty professional. It doesn't really go nuclear, but let's see what we can do with it now. So this one is quite a bit more tame than the other examples I've shown. I'm not mad at that. I'm also not mad at the fact that there's a bit of coloration going on. It's rolled off a bit of the high end. Sounds good. It's doing that nice thing where if you play softly, it's clean. And if you really dig in, also I should say there's no compression going on, it's just input up all the way, output up all the way. For the amp tone, we're going into my trusty Laney LG12. Crunches up very nicely, as I said in the previous video. Don't be mad at my amp strap. I've never heard of anybody buying a new amp strap, so I'm not doing that. There's no drive. Here's my EQ settings. All the drive is coming from the volume. Okay, practice amplifier. No effects, no frills, no pedals, no nothing. Just volume. And if you say something nice about my cowboy hat in the comments, I'm going to say something nice right back to you. This one, we got the Universal Audio tape recorder plugin going on. I changed the tape, but I didn't really change anything else. I've got the input and the output maxed. We're clipping here, but over here, we're actually keeping it green for this one. For So yeah, my possibly biased conclusion is that they all work pretty good, apart from maybe their possibly broken preamp situation. With the DAW stuff, I only showed you the tape machine, but I tried a few other things and they all sound pretty much the same if you're distorting in the computer and you're doing some sort of tape emulation thing. I don't know if it sounds like Sex Bob-Omb anymore, because I've been listening to just distorted guitar noise over and over again now for a couple of hours, but either way, there's applications for this kind of stuff, so you get the idea. Plug in, go loud, enjoy yourself. That's going to do it from me, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in to this long-awaited second episode of Right Noise. I hope you find the Sex Bob-Omb tones you're looking for, but if you can't for whatever reason, feel free to DM me on Instagram and I'll get right back to you with some extra tips and tricks. Also follow me on Instagram. Also, last time I was wrapping up a video like this, I was talking about the 2 albums that I was going to make this year. Well, they're both finished. If you need the complete flip opposite of Sex Bob-Omb, listen to my album Walden. It's very slow and sleepy and quiet. It's like a lullaby. If you need to get to sleep, this is the album for you. But if you want to stay up all night, if you still need your Sex Bob-Omb itch scratched, listen to Primate Players. Everything's on 11. It's fast-paced. It's aggressive. If you like Sex Bob-Omb, you're going to love this album. There's also my debut album. Listen to that. Still good. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Really appreciate it. Go loud. Enjoy yourself. Have fun making music. Make sure it clips. Remember to pan. Check phase. And enjoy yourself. And have a good one. And go loud. And go crazy. And have fun out there. And enjoy making music out there. And have fun. And go loud. Sayonara. Goodbye. Arrivederci.